We have some injury news that we need to get to and make some adjustments for our starting lineups. Honestly, kind of feel like maybe at this point we should be making fantasy football championships week 16 rather than week 17 with so many players just missing. It makes a lot of sense. Like we talked about this a while ago, looking at those teams that weren't playing for anything, looking at teams exactly like the Houston Texans. It's hilarious that that's the exact example that we gave with Dameon Pierce. If you stub your toe, you're sitting out for the rest of the season. If you're playing on that team that's playing for absolutely nothing. I know that's obviously old news, but we have a couple of these other teams that are looking at their real life playoff picture odds and saying, okay, why are we going to rush back our studs for no apparent reason? So before we dive into any questions here, I do want to give some updates that we have. I saw Underdog tweeted some stuff out that should be easy to cover just in 5 seconds. But as I set up this live stream, of course, if you have not done so already, please drop a like on this bad boy. If you're watching this as a video later on, I'm not even going to tell you to subscribe. I know you already know that. And I already know that you know if you want to check out any of these player props this week, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat, the description, the comment section. And when you sign up to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. And with promo code FLOCK, you're going to get our 2023 Dynasty rankings, and it's available in damn near every state. Let me go ahead. Let's pull up Underdog's Twitter just so we can run through these news real quick. Okay. So Greg Dulcich placed on the IR. Not going to be big news here. I don't think we're starting anybody in Denver almost regardless. Kenneth Walker is going to play, which is what we were assuming was going to happen. Ramondre Stevenson still questionable. Jalen Hurts doubtful. I'm assuming that Jalen Hurts doesn't play. I mean, I would say that would be very reckless for the Philadelphia Eagles to go out there and throw Jalen Hurts in the game. I mean, I think Eagles fans should be a little pissed if they do that. Hopkins questionable. I expect him most likely good to go. Lockett going to be good to go against the Jets. Trevor Lawrence still questionable. Christian Watson still questionable. Jerry Jeudy expected to play. I think Deebo Samuel has been ruled out. Yes, Deebo Samuel's been ruled out. Elijah Mitchell's coming back next week. That's not going to have too much of an impact. And then there was one other thing we needed to be looking at. Yeah, that was James Conner is not even on the injury report. So James Conner should be good to go. Let me pull up the most recent report that we've had with Christian Watson. I just wanted to see if we had anything lately because Underdog saying is still questionable. But what exactly does that mean with Christian Watson? Because that's an incredibly important player to figure out. Okay, so ruled out, blah, blah, blah. He did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Watson managed to get in a limited session on Friday, but should be still considered a game time call for week 17. So since that game's going to be later in the day, don't be planning on starting Christian Watson. If it was like a 1 p.m. contest and we were going to have the clarity, then we could. At this point, it's probably going to be difficult to assume that. But the Fiji Panini coming out, thank you, my friend, says, Sup Mason, start Aaron Rodgers or Brock Purdy. Honestly, I think you got to go Aaron Rodgers. With Rodgers, regardless of if you have Christian Watson playing or not, I think that you should have the best matchup imaginable going up against the Minnesota Vikings, who obviously have an abysmal defense. Not only do you have a great matchup, but it's an incredibly important game for the Green Bay Packers, who have been rolling as of late. I'm very comfortable in saying that Aaron Rodgers is a great play here. The issue, if you're going to be looking at Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is with no Derek Carr, with the spread on that game currently being about 10 points, I believe. I think 10.5 now. Almost regardless, it's difficult to assume that they ever get into any real type of shootout. I think you just have Brock Purdy and the 49ers running the ball over and over and over again, where it is difficult to say he's a fine option in fantasy. But Mike Takes Flight says, championship week, are we going to go Dallas Goedert with no Jalen Hurts, or are we going to roll Cole Kmet? I'm going to go Dallas Goedert. I think Goedert is just one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. And at the same time, he is in one of the league's best offenses. I don't think it matters too much who the quarterback's going to be here from a passing volume standpoint. Obviously, for the success of the Philadelphia Eagles, you'll 100% want Jalen Hurts to be in there. But if we're just looking at passing volume, and if that's the only thing that matters, I don't think it matters too much for Dallas Goedert, who the quarterback is. Okay. And now our next one coming out from the Fiji Bonita again says, Noti Gang, by the way, let's go Flock. Thank you, my man. for hanging out with us all season now. And yeah, thank you so much for everybody who has notifications. It comes out right away. But Chris All In says, a full BBR start 2 running backs, a receiver, and a flex. We have Fournette, Brian Robinson, Mixon, Algier, Bam Knight. Okay, so our 2 running backs, we're going to end up going with Joe Mixon and honestly, probably Tyler Algier here. If it's a full BBR format, I wouldn't fault you if you just wanted to play Leonard Fournette, who obviously has such a good role as a pass catcher. But I think if we're looking at the underdog player props, I mean, I think we were a little too low on Tyler Algier at the beginning of this week. I think we can pivot over to him. Let's go with Mixon and Algier. And then for the flex spot, if we're going to be looking at the wide receivers as well, with Drake London, DJ Chark, Mike Evans, Gabe Davis. Honestly, we're going to go right back to running back. We will be playing Leonard Fournette. So let's go Fournette, Mixon, and Tyler Algier. And then for the defense between the Chiefs and Giants defense, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think if you were to ask me this question 100 times, I could very easily see me giving you 50 answers for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they are right now, I believe, 13.5-point favorites over the Denver Broncos. And Russ coming off a 3-interception game. Russ obviously looking horrible. But at the same time, the Giants are favored by, I believe, about a touchdown going up against the Indianapolis Colts, where Nick Foles is coming off a 3-interception game. So in reality, I don't think there's a bad answer. I think that both defenses are great options. I probably go with the team that's favored by about 13.5 points, though. I probably end up going with the Kansas City Chiefs DST. But Cameron coming out with a massive donation. Thank you, my friend. Says, thank you for the advice. Most profitable year of fantasy ever. Some final questions. We're going to go Goff or Gardner Minshew. Okay, so I do like both quarterbacks this week. I mean, based on what we saw Gardner Minshew last week, it's hard to not to be excited about what you're going to have in week 17. I mean, they dropped, 40 points? But realistically speaking, I think you have to go with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. Like right now, if I'm going to pull up the implied team totals, you actually have the highest over-under of the week between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears at 52 points. You have the Lions tied with the Kansas City Chiefs for the highest implied team total in all of football. They're projected to score 29 points, whereas you have the Philadelphia Eagles right about 23.5. I think you have to go Jared Goff. Should be a very good spot against the Chicago Bears. And then also Akers or Kenneth Walker. I think a lot of people would tell you to go ahead and take Cam Akers. Akers has a phenomenal matchup going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. If we're going to go through, if we're going to look at the player props that we have here, I mean, you already know where you can find these. We have Walker at 86.5 total yards, whereas you're going to be looking at Cam Akers with 85.5 total. I think that they are very comparable, but I think that you end up with Kenneth Walker as a running back with more touchdown upside. I have more faith in the in the Seattle Seahawks offense against the New York Jets, even if the Jets have a good defense, than I do with the Los Angeles Rams offense, even if the Rams dropped 50 points this past week. I don't necessarily know how reliable Baker Mayfield will be going forward. So let's go with Kenneth Walker over Akers. And then Hopkins, Judy, or DJ Moore. We're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not even going to think about this one, my friend, especially now that you have Colt McCoy in here. If you have a Colt McCoy in, I don't think we need to worry about it. McCoy's not a great quarterback, but I can tell you he's a hell of a lot better, and I repeat, a hell of a lot better than what you're going to be looking at with Trace McSorley. But now our next one coming out from, I believe, Domestone, always out here, says, hey, Mason, or Domstone, I apologize. We've said your name a million times. I don't know how we butchered it. But says, hey, Mason, going for the three-peat this weekend. Appreciate all the help. Teddy B or Mike White at quarterback. Probably going to end up going Mike White at QB. I mean, it's a great matchup going up against the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to be looking at the implied team totals again of the New York Jets. I mean, right now they're projected to score 22 points. If we're going to be comparing that to the Dolphins are at about 19. I really like the matchup against Seattle. And then Hopkins or Brian Robinson at the flex in a full BBR format. Happy New Year, bro. Now, Happy New Year, my friend. Let me pull up the update that we have with Antonio Gibson today. I don't really care too much about what it is. But, oh yeah, so Gibson is out week 17. So I guess you actually have to jack up. I mean, move him up so much. Brian Robinson. With that being said, while I admit you have to move Brian Robinson up a ton, I still go DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm not going to be thinking about this one too much either. I think that DeAndre Hopkins just gives you such a high floor ceiling combination when he's averaged over 10 targets a game this season. I know that, yes, Colt McCoy's not good, but as we just said, it's going to be a lot better than it was a week ago. Yeah, I think we still go Hopkins. But now, Tanner says, Algier or Cam Akers, a full PPR format. We need this W. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. I'm going to go Akers. I think we talked about this in the live stream last night. I don't know if I'm just biased here because I liked Akers coming out of Florida State more than I like Tyler Algier coming out of school. And if we're going to be looking at Akers, it is a very good matchup. Both players have good matchups, but I think Akers is the better running back. He doesn't have Cordell Patterson stealing 30% of the snaps in his touches, 30% of the touches in his backfields. Let's go Akers. Let's go Akers. And Mike Takes Flight says, pick 2, Mike Williams, Najee Harris, Amari Cooper, and Cam Akers. I think we're definitely going to go Akers in that great matchup we just got done talking about against the Chargers. Between Williams, Najee, as well as Amari Cooper, it is a little difficult here. I think we may end up having to say Najee Harris just with the guaranteed touches that we are going to see. I am not excited about it, however. I mean, if you're going to be looking at Najee Harris, it is about the worst game environment you could ask for. They have the lowest implied, I'm sorry, not the lowest implied team total, but the lowest over-under of any game this week will be between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. The over-under in this game is 35 points. The Steelers projected to score 16.5. You don't like it, but I think we may go Najee. Then Mudmaster says, in my championship game, should we go Pittman or Jahan Dotson at the flex? Not a big Pittman guy, but we will go Michael Pittman here. This would be my first trophy if I get it done, so any input is appreciated. Wishing you the best of luck, my friend. I truly am, and I think we go Michael Pittman. Obviously, Nick Foles looked like the worst starting quarterback in the NFL this past week. I don't see how it gets worse than how it was, though. And then Jose says, Moore, Cooper, Watson, Devonta Smith. We need to go ahead and pick 2. We're going to go work with Devonta Smith, and we're going to go Christian Watson if he does play because he practiced today. But I'm going to operate under the assumption that we don't have the clarity on Christian Watson by the time we have to make this decision, and we're most likely going to end up going Amari Cooper over Christian Watson. Huge fan of the channel. This channel got me to the finals. Also, Tyler Algier or A.J. Dillon. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. And let me pull up the most recent report that we have with Aaron Jones. Okay. So, Aaron Jones, So he was removed from the injury report entirely. If Aaron Jones is removed entirely from the injury report, I think that we are not going to be too interested in A.J. Dillon at this point. So let's go with Tyler Algier over A.J. Dillon. And Lucas says, we're 15-1 going into the championship. Pick 2, Juju, Hollywood, Ayuk, Dobbins. Ooh, we got the pressure. We have Deebo Samuel now officially ruled out. Deebo Samuel's officially ruled out. If it is a full PPR format, I will go with Hollywood and Ayuk. If it is a non-PPR format, we will go with Ayuk and Dobbins. If it's a non-PPR format. The issue with Dobbins is he's only going to grab one pass out of the backfield max. Second question, are we going to start the 49ers defense? Yes. I don't even care who our other option is. The 49ers defense, best defense in the NFL, going up against Jarrett Stidham, where it looks like the Raiders have given up. We're going to go with the 49ers, 10-point favorites. And then, or the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got to go. You have to go here with the 49ers defense, my friend. And says, Oba, no. Well, thank you for being a longtime member of the flock, my friend. Congrats on the phenomenal season. And don't overthink it. Please play the 49ers here. And then Tyler says, would you start ETN over James Conner or CMC due to reps possibly being limited? James Conner's not even on the injury report. Don't overthink it. You play James Conner. James Conner's been seeing 95% of the touches in his backfield. James Conner's been seeing 95% of the snaps in his backfield. Realistically speaking, I don't know what else you could ask for. Okay. Now our next one coming out from IB Russ says, up 34 points in week 2 of the championship. Set the lineup. Okay, so we just need high floor options. We can't be affording zeros in the lineup. We need 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 2 flexes. We have Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, Rachaad White, James Cook. We're going to go Aaron Jones, Cam Akers at running back. Receiver, we have Hopkins, Kirk, Judy, Olave, Deontay Johnson, Greg Dortch, Romeo Doubs. Receiver, we're going to go Hopkins, Kirk, If we are just playing the highest floor option possible, I probably go Rachaad White, Jerry Jeudy. I want to tell you to go with Jerry Jeudy, Chris Olave. The thing is, though, if we're up 34 points in the second week of our championship, and we truly are just looking at, the high floor options for us, there maybe would be a little bit hesitant to say, let's go ahead and let's just jam in Chris Olave coming off the hamstring. Olave is definitely, from a median projection standpoint, the option you want to be going with. I just don't know how much of an adjustment we should be having to make with the fact that we're up by 34. Yeah, let's do it. Now, Jack says, I believe Daniel Jones or Mike White, and then flex two of Dotson, Algier, and A.J. Dillon. We're going to flex both running backs, my friend. And between Daniel Jones and Mike White, if you're looking at our rankings, I literally have them ranked back-to-back. I have them in the same tier back-to-back. We have Mike White one spot higher just because I really do like the matchup that we have going up against the Seattle Seahawks for Mike White. And obviously, at the end of the day, you got Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson is going to be able to move the ball down the field. Now, Jack, I believe Jamal says you should put up a poll after the season to what percentage of your subs won and what percentage didn't make the playoffs. Thanks, G, and hope Waddle and Jacobs cook for you. I can do this, and I will let you know right now, it would make me look very good, right? If I come out and I post a poll on YouTube tomorrow saying, what percentage of y'all made your fantasy football playoff stretch and what percentage of y'all won your fantasy football championship? Overwhelmingly, if every fantasy football channel did this, every single one would have 90% of their audience saying they made the fantasy football playoffs and a high percentage saying that they won their fantasy football championship. It's not because everybody that makes fantasy football videos is a genius. I'd say 99% of them are not, and I'll put myself in that category. But if you think about it, who is still watching fantasy football videos at this point of the year? Who is still engaging with fantasy football channels? Is it the guy that got bounced from his league 6 weeks ago that ended up starting off, 2-9 and had no shot? He stopped watching my videos. He stopped engaging with our content weeks ago. So I can do that, my friend, and it would make me look very good because it would show that, oh my gosh, almost everybody watches our videos made the fantasy football playoffs. I don't think it's that everybody who watches our video made the fantasy football playoffs. It's everybody who's still left watching the videos is. So I could do it and it would make me look really good, but in reality, it's going to be an extremely skewed data set, my friend. But I will make an in-depth video of my own personal results and over the 700 teams we drafted. Now, Bodie says, pick one, Waddle, Algier, McKinnon, or DeAndre Hopkins in a full PPR format. I think we're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins, my friend. I mean, with Hopkins, you're just getting the 10 targets a game. Not only are you getting the 10 targets a game, but at the same time, the offense should be better. It's a good matchup. I'm all in on Hopkins. Now we have Colt McCoy in here. Huckam Lawrence. Andrew says, full PPR, which three running backs out of Akers, Dillon, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Swift, Pacheco? We need a high ceiling miracle. Thanks. So thank you. I think you easily go Cam Akers, Aaron Jones. And then after that, that's where we can have the conversation. Between Dillon, Montgomery, Swift, Pacheco, I think that you can go in a couple different ways. If we're looking at a high ceiling, I'm actually going to go David Montgomery, as we discussed. That's supposed to be the highest scoring game of the week, according to Las Vegas sportsbooks. Between the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions, you should have fireworks. So I think we are going to go with Montgomery. And oh my gosh, people in the chat saying Colt McCoy is out. I did not see this. I saw earlier in the week that Colt McCoy was playing. Do we need to be making it? Okay, the report came out 2 days ago. Cardinals coach Cliff Kingsbury says Colt McCoy has cleared concussion protocol. McCoy will start week 17 against the Falcons. McCoy isn't even an average starting quarterback, but he still presents a massive upgrade over Trace McSorley. And y'all are right. A report came out today. Colt McCoy, concussion protocol, will not play in week 17 game against... What the hell? Never mind. I guess we need to be lowering DeAndre Hopkins out. I mean, if we're going to be going back to that question, Hopkins, Waddle, Algier, McKinnon, I'm still probably going to go DeAndre Hopkins, but definitely have to lower him down compared to where we've been. Now, Chris says, a full BBR format, we need a receiver. London, Shark, Evans, and Gabe Davis. We're going to go ahead. We're going to jam in Mike Evans here, my friend. I know he's been disappointing, but he's still better than these other options. Colin says, Hopkins or Garrett Wilson. If Trace McSorley is the starting quarterback and Hopkins is banged up himself, we're going to go Garrett Wilson with Mike White. Great matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Hopkins missed practice with a knee, and he's going to have David Blau as his quarterback. I guess you're not even going to have McSorley. Oh, dear God. So, yeah, we're going to go Garrett Wilson here. I'm not too worried about Hopkins missing practice. Like I said, he's a little bit banged up. I know that, but we're obviously operating under the assumption that Hopkins were to play. If we're getting a start-sit question regarding DeAndre Hopkins, what I'm most concerned about is the quarterback situation. I really thought that I did not see that report today about Colt McCoy. I saw the Hopkins report today. I did not see the Colt McCoy one, though. Okay. Yeah, David Blau's the quarterback. Dear God. I completely forget what I said earlier in live stream. I apologize. We went through injury updates at the beginning of the stream. I have no idea how I did not see the Colt McCoy news. Thomas says Justin Fields or Joe Burrow. We're going to go Joe Burrow. We have them ranked at quarterback 3, quarterback 4. I don't think you can make a wrong decision. I'm using the tie break saying, hell, Joe Burrow is going to play in the best football game of the year on Monday night. That's something I want to watch. It's something I want to root for. And then Nick Chubb or DeAndre Swift. We're going to go Chubb. We're not going to overthink it. Anthony says, for the championship, should we place Zach Moss, James Cook, or DJ Chark in any of the flex spots? We currently have Pickens and Brian Robinson in. Thanks for the help this season. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. Brian Robinson must start running back now that Antonio Gibson's missing. Make sure that you have Brian Robinson in there. If we're going to be looking to start anybody, I think we'd be looking to take George Pickens out, put Zach Moss in. If it was a non-PPR format, we're going to go ahead and do that. If it's a full PPR league, it will be up to you. Alex says, need to pick a defense, New England or Jacksonville, and need a kicker. I'm not going to be able to help you with kickers, my friend. I am so sorry. If I were to help you with kickers, I would just honestly probably do you a disservice. I would embarrass myself and not help in the slightest. Thank you, big fan, Go Flock. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And I know that New England is in a good spot going up against Teddy B. Obviously, I'd rather be playing Teddy Bridgewater than Tua. But right now, the New England Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. There's a 41-point total in that game. So you actually have an implied team total right now for the Miami Dolphins at about 19 points. We're going to be comparing this to what you have with the Houston Texans against Jacksonville. The Texans are actually projected to score more points than Miami this week, which is about the craziest thing I've ever seen. I would feel more comfortable starting the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, because if we're thinking about the top 1 percentile outcome for these respective offenses, I wouldn't be blown away. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world if you ended up having Teddy Bridgewater come in with Jalen Waddle, with Tyreek Hill, with a coaching staff that really knows what they're doing, and Miami has a big day. I don't think that's the expectation, but it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world. Whereas if Houston dropped 30 points, I would lose my mind. I just don't see that happening. So I'm still going to go Jacksonville. Okay. Angus says, hey, Mason, championship week, start Algier, Brian Robinson, or Mike Evans in the flex. Very close question now that Gibson is ruled out. We still probably go Tyler Algier, but it's pretty damn close. Brett says, sup, Mason, when are you doing another draft? Probably next week, my friend. I just wanted to take a quick little break with them. We're going to do over 700 underdog drafts this year, my friend. We at least did over 700 last year. And honestly, right now, looks like I know people aren't going to believe me. It doesn't really freaking matter one way or another. But we have had a profitable fantasy football season every single year since starting in 2015. 2014 is the first time I got into a large sample of leagues. That's the first time I started playing in 10+ dynasty leagues every single year. We've been profitable in fantasy football every single season without a losing season since 2015. But this year is going to be the most profitable we've ever been with those over 700 teams we drafted on Underdog. Of course, we have no idea at this point with the tournament style contest in week 17, but for the current winning projection, we may end up winning $50,000 this year on Underdog. So you better believe, my friend, that we are going through and we're going to do a ton of Underdog drafts on the live stream again. But, oh my gosh. Like, we've won every year since 2015, but we've definitely never won anything close to 50,000 in a year. But our next question coming out from Calcium Oxide says, need to Pickens, Slayton, Singletary, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Boyd in a PPR format. I think we're probably going to end up going in the direction of, I guess, Devin Singletary and Tyler Boyd. Just take two options that are in a very high-scoring offense. I'm a little bit hesitant to go in the direction of Boyd if we have Hayden Hurst coming in, just because it's going to be another guy who can draw targets. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. Slayton's not the dominant wide receiver one that we thought he would be in New York. Pickens is in the lowest scoring game of the week. I think we can take both guys on Monday night. Now, Eshnab says McKinnon or Mike Williams to the flex for the championship. I think we're going to go ahead. I think we're going to be taking Jarrett McKinnon if we're looking for the higher floor. We're going to go Mike Williams if we're looking for the highest ceiling. I think McKinnon's a fine play, though, my friend. Antonio says, standard start in the flex, Rachaad White or Damian Harris. If it's a non-PPR format, obviously Damian Harris is going to get a bump up there compared to a PPR league. We're already starting Miles Sanders and playoff Lenny. Yeah, so I think we are going to end up going Damian Harris if Ramondre Stevenson were to miss, but if Ramondre Stevenson were to play, we're going to go Rachaad White. And real quick, we are 1 like away from hitting 100 likes in this live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in the stream. It does help us out a ton. And now Gordon says, in a full BBR format, a questionable Tyler Higbee, David Njoku, or Cole Kmet. I think at this point, we're going to plan on going Tyler Higbee, my friend. And then with Blouin for the Cardinals and Hopkins leaving practice today, would you go Hopkins or or Christian Kirk? Assuming DeAndre Hopkins plays on Sunday, we are going to go DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, that will be something that you have to continue to monitor. And with David Blau quarterback, it's not nearly as exciting. I mean, at the beginning of this live stream, hell, I thought we had freaking Colt McCoy, and we were just clearly wrong. I still plan on Hopkins, assuming he plays. It will be something we have to monitor on Sunday morning, though. And Robbie says, PBR Swift in a good matchup or Najee in a bad one. And if Christian Watson's out, who should we flex between Waddle, Lazard, Dotson, or Chark? I'm going to play Waddle here, regardless of if Christian Watson plays or not. My friend, if we're going to be looking at Najee Harris and DeAndre Swift, I have them in the same tier, so I'm fine if you wanted to go one way or another. Because you have DeAndre Swift operating in that three-man running back by committee right now, I think we are going to end up going Najee Harris, though. Brooks Embry says, Hurts and Henry out for the championship, sadly. Starting Gardner Minshew again, put Alvin Kamara in Derrick Henry's spot. Should I flex Bam or Olave, and also Kmet or Njoku? I mean, if we're going to be looking at Bam or Olave, I think you have to go Olave, my friend. I mean, sucks going all in on this New Orleans Saints offense with the combo of Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, when obviously this offense does not look that good. But, I mean, at the end of the day, what the hell can we do? Chris Olave is coming out the hamstring. Sounds like he will be good to go. I don't think we need to overthink this too much. And then if we're going to be looking at Cole Kmet versus David Njoku, we have them ranked very close. I have Kmet at 9, Njoku at 11. We are going to go Cole Kmet just because how high scoring that Chicago Bears Detroit Lions game is supposed to be. And obviously Kmet's the only guy standing in Chicago that's going to be able to catch a ball. Now, Brandon says, need to for the flex in a PPR league, Lenny, Swift, Judy, Juju, Tyler Algier, and Wilson. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Tyler Algier. And probably Leonard Fournette. Based on the... Oh, no, if this is Garrett Wilson, we go Garrett Wilson. I'm assuming it's Jeff Wilson. But we go Tyler Algier, Leonard Fournette, unless that's Garrett Wilson. Then we go Tyler Algier and Garrett Wilson. But if you have Garrett Wilson, please just auto-start Wilson. Kevin says, had Pollard as my running back too. We need to play Chuba Hubbard or Gus Edwards. Are you being serious? Oh my gosh, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Gut reaction is to say Gus Edwards. I know Chuba Hubbard has some spike weeks over the past few. This past week's coming off a week where he had 125 rushing yards. Don't care too much about that because Carolina Panthers, there's no way in hell they're dropping another 37 points. What I'm mainly pulling up here is I want to see if Chuba Hubbard's getting involved as a pass catcher. And this week, he didn't have a target out of the backfield, but the two prior ones, he did have back-to-back weeks with 3 targets. We know that you are not ever in a million years going to have Gus Edwards drawing 3 to 4 targets in a game. For that reason, I want to say if it's a non-PPR format, we probably are going to end up going ahead and we're going to take Gus Edwards. If it's a full PPR league, maybe we go Chuba Hubbard. In reality, it may not matter because at the end of the day, you're going to be crying yourself to sleep that night, a Sunday night, regardless. Gross, my friend. James says, Hopkins, Rachaad White, Christian Kirk, or DJ Chark in a half PPR format. Assuming Hopkins plays, even if we're significantly less excited about it than we were previously, I still probably play DeAndre Hopkins. If Hopkins were not to play, then we pivot to Christian Kirk. And Jesse says, line me up in a non-PPR format. Are we going to go Goff or Herbert? I will go Herbert. I do think that they are close this week, though. Diggs, Hopkins, Christian Watson, Amari, DJ Moore. We're going to plan on Diggs and Hopkins. If Hopkins were to miss, we'll pivot over from Hopkins to Amari. Running back, we have Walker, Connor, and Kamara. We're going to plan on playing all 3 guys because we are going to have one in that flex spot. But of course, we're going to be more willing to go with that running back in the flex in that non-PPR format compared to a full PPR league. Hinky says, in the finals, but Tua went down. Do we go Rodgers, Mike White, or Brock Purdy? Honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers crushes this week. If you look at the total on that game, if you look at just how bad that Minnesota Vikings defense is, I think it is a very good spot for Aaron Rodgers, and we can take him with confidence. Now, Dave says, hey, Mason, PBR, we have Burrow, Swift, Robinson, Allen, Metcalf, Andrews, Juju, Dotson, and then on the bench, Chark, Najee Harris, Richie James, Freiermuth, in the Giants defense. Any changes? Okay, so if we were going to get someone into the starting lineup, Najee Harris is my favorite player that we have down there on the bench. So the question is essentially, do we want to be playing Najee Harris over Brian Robinson? Nope. We want Brian Robinson now that Gibson's going to miss. Do we want Najee Harris versus DeAndre Swift? It's close. I think that's going to be up to you in a full PPR format. It really is up to you. Or do we want Najee Harris over Jahan Dotson? That is the spot where we make the swap. If Jahan Dotson is in one of your flex spots, my friend, Najee Harris is not in a good situation, not in a good matchup. As we've discussed, you do have the lowest total of any game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens, but I still think you could go in the direction of Najee Harris here. And Rami says, for the defense, are we going to go Philly or the Giants? We're going to go ahead. We are going to be taking the New York Giants. I mean, going up against the Indianapolis Colts with Nick Foles looking like possibly the worst starting quarterback in the NFL last week. Hard to get away from it. Kevin says, with Gibson out, are we going to go Brian Robinson, Kenneth Walker, or A.J. Dillon? I'm probably still going to go Kenneth Walker. It is very close between Kenneth Walker and Brian Robinson with no Gibson, though. With no Gibson, like you 100% have Brian Robinson as that must-start guy. Margaret Word says Dobbs or Olave if Christian Watson sits. Even if Watson sits, I'm still going to be going with Chris Olave. Also, Dillon, Fournette, or Akers. We got to pick a running back 2 and a flex. Now that Aaron Jones is entirely removed off the injury report, I think we are going to end up going with Fournette and Akers under the assumption it's a full PPR format. If it was a non-PPR league and you still have a hesitation thinking Aaron Jones is possibly a little banged up, then you could pivot from Fournette to Dillon. The difference is Fournette's going to pick up an additional 4 to 5 receptions compared to A.J. Dillon. Now, Mr. Blackbeard says, pick one, Lockett, White, or Jamal in a full PPR league. Full PPR format, we're going to go Tyler Lockett, even if you have to be a little hesitant in a tough matchup against the Jets, combined with the fact coming off the lower body injury. And Giovanni says, need a running back 2 in a full PPR league. Zach Moss, Deontay Foreman, or Cordell Patterson. Probably going to end up going with Zach Moss, where Zach Moss and Deontay Foreman are both in bad offenses. Deontay Foreman is split in the backfield with Chuba Hubbard, whereas you just have absolutely no competition in the slightest if we're going to be looking at Zach Moss, or very little competition. Charles says, have PPR format, Hunter Henry, Juwan Johnson, Noah Fant, or Jeff Driscoll. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take Juwan Johnson. I mean, he had that stretch of games for, I believe, 6 weeks whenever he was healthy, not including the game he left early where the man scored a touchdown. Wet Bandit, Bates, and Jig says, Henry going down killed me, but what's the better PPR option? We need two between Swift, Dobbins, Jeff Wilson Jr., as well as Jamal Williams. In a full PPR format, we're going to go Swift and Dobbins. Jeff Wilson Jr., very hard to get a read on what the running back breakdown is going to be in touches between Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. I mean, it's a bad matchup almost regardless going up against the New England Patriots. I would probably just avoid it if possible. Swift, you have to take him over Jamal at this point. If he's obviously the guy getting targeted out of the backfield, and also he played more snaps than Jamal this week, even if the game environment called for it. Now, Joel says, yo, what's up, big dog? Need to start two between Najee Evans or Leonard Fournette. He's about 12 projected points over me. Okay, well, I'm wishing you the best of luck, my friend. If you're telling me we are 12-point dog in this matchup, I probably, because that's not just being a slight underdog. I mean, that's 12 points is a decent amount. I probably want to build in some correlation and make one consolidated bet saying, okay, well, if this one thing happens, we are going to benefit greatly. And hell, what could that one thing be? If Tom Brady can somehow, some way put it together, Fournette and Mike Evans could both crush. Trust me, I'm not trying to say that's going to happen, but it is in the range of outcomes. It's not like Najee Harris is that exciting. So I think we're going to go with the two Tampa players. Now, our next one coming out from Alexis says, Mark Andrews or Tyler Conklin. Andrews has been horrible, but you still got to go with Mark Andrews. James says, Herbert, Mike White, or Gardner Minshew were a slight underdog. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take Justin Herbert, my friend. I know Herbert, if you're looking at his points per game so far this season, hasn't been great, but hell, he's going to get better with his two guys in. If you're looking at the projection on him this week, 285.5 passing yards. It's going to be significantly higher than these other guys. Shadrick says, when's the next Dynasty mock draft? We'll get another Dynasty mock draft going next week, my friend. And Andrew says, Andrews or Tyler Higbee. I'm going to go Mark Andrews, but we have them ranked very close. Obviously, Higbee coming off the monstrous performance. Pick three between Montgomery, McKinnon, Etienne. Afraid Etienne won't play much since the game doesn't matter. Algier or Allen Lazard if Watson's out. I think we're honestly going to just plan on going Montgomery, Etienne, and Tyler Algier because we can sit here and we can project, oh my gosh, what are they going to do with the Jacksonville Jaguars running backs, blah, blah, blah. In reality, I mean, we don't know what they're going to do with Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco. Like, we really don't know what the split's going to be there. So if there's just, I don't want to say inconsistency, but if there's uncertainty across the board like that, I probably would just rather take the guy that's better. So let's go with Etienne. Houseway says, sit one, Waddle, Metcalf, Mixon, Etienne, Brian Robinson. We were sitting Brian Robinson right. Congrats to everyone that's still out here. Thanks, Mesa. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, my man. And yes, congrats to Megan for the Fantasy Football Championship. If you would have asked me this at the beginning of the week before Gibson was ruled out, I would say yes, easily sit Brian Robinson. At this point, I think Brian Robinson and Etienne are very close. I don't love the matchup for Brian Robinson going up against the Cleveland Browns. It's definitely going to be between those two running backs, between Etienne and Brian Robinson. I probably still bench Brian Robinson under the assumption it's a full PPR format, but it is very close now that Gibson's missing. And the masterpiece says, pick two, Aaron Jones, Tyler Algier, or Garrett Wilson. We're going to go Aaron Jones, Garrett Wilson. Algier, great matchup. Algier's been crushing, but I think the other two guys are significantly better. Ryan says, Mason in the flock in the final because of y'all. PBR, who to start at the flex? Who to start in flex? We have Waddle, Godwin, Wilson, Amari, Zay Jones, Eckler, Fournette, Dillon, and Latavius. We're going to go Eckler, Fournette, running back. That's going to be the easy call. Receiver, we're going to be going with, honestly, it's going to be an easy call as well. Waddle, Godwin, and then throw Amari Cooper in there at the flex spot. I mean, Zay Jones, just a lot of volatility. And we're going to go Waddle, Godwin, Garrett Wilson, bench Amari Cooper. With Amari Cooper, the reason he's been so damn disappointing is just, Deshaun Watson not getting the job done. We thought he was going to be able to, and clearly he has not. Jonas says, excited at all about Hollywood if DeAndre Hopkins sits? Nope, not if David Blau is the quarterback. No. And Abdi coming out says, we have Sanders, Najee, Tyler Algier. Are we going to flex Najee Harris or Amari Cooper? I think we're probably going to go with Najee Harris. It's hard to get excited about either offense. It's hard to get excited about either game environment. Might as well just take the running back that you have the floors with the touches. You have the floor with the touches. Kevin says, pick one for the flex in a full PPR format. Nick Chubb or Jahan Dotson. This is going to be the easiest question ever. My friend, you're going to go Nick Chubb. Not even remotely close. Don't overthink it. Start your studs. But I think we are probably through with everything. We will be live tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time because obviously it's New Year's Eve. I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to go out and have some fun. So we'll probably be live a little bit earlier in the day. That way you can still go out and get your party on, have some fun on New Year's Eve. But thank you so much, everybody, hanging out with us. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream. It looks like about half of y'all have not done that yet. And all else I ask is you have a great New Year's. I really hope you had happy holidays already. But go out, have some fun tomorrow night. Obviously, be responsible with the fun you're having. But thank you so much for everything. Last one, Bob an Accountant says, hey, Mason, standard scoring flex, Dobbins, Najee, Rashad White, Damian Harris, if Ramondre Stevenson sits. Honestly, my friend, if it's a non-PPR format, there I think that's where you can get excited about J.K. Dobbins, where the fact that he's not going to catch the ball to the backfield doesn't matter as much. There I think we would go Dobbins in a non-PPR league, my friend. But have a good New Year, everybody. I will see y'all tomorrow as well. Just will be later in the day, like we already mentioned. But thank you so much again, and have a great night tonight.